Hello, my name is Lou. I'm a volunteer at the Kansas City Northern Miniature Railroad at Lion Creek Park in Kansas City, and we're here today to talk about signals, train signals, of which there are two types. The first type protects you, and the second type protects the train and the engineer. We have several that have been donated over the years, and most of them have been sitting around waiting to be restored, and we have done a good job at bringing many of those back to life. We'll go through the crossing gate signals, what we call a wigwag signal, a semaphore signal that is approaching 100 years old, and some other unique things we have done to enhance the ridership experience of our passengers that come in from around the surrounding area. So in that respect, we'll be talking about how they're used, how they're operated, and what some of the history is behind them, how we got them, how we restored them, and what we plan to do in the future with some of the other ones that we have. So the information I'm going to provide to you in that respect will be past knowledge, past experience, and what you can expect to see whenever you come to this miniature railroad in northern Kansas City. In that respect, hey, let's get started and we'll see what we can do. Hello, this is Lowell again. We're talking about crossing gate signals and road crossing signals here at the Kansas City Northern Miniature Railroad. And what I'm standing by here is the first signal that was installed during the original construction of the miniature railroad back in 1982. Okay, this one here is unique in that at one time there was an arm coming out from here where we had another set of lights. That worked very fine, but the issue was the local garbage truck liked to make a sharp turn and knock it off. So after putting up with that several times, we put this boulder here so they would at least take a wide swing and not interrupt or destroy the signal. This signal is similar to another one that I'll show you. The major difference is the size of the light. These are 6-inch lenses, and the one I'll show you later is probably about 8 inches. This signal is configured exactly like the railroad would do it in real life, in that a track circuit initiates the circuit, starts the signal activation, and the signal activation will continue until the train exits the crossing and the area is clear. Crossing gate signals by design, the flashing sequence is a nominal 40 to 45 flashes per minute back and forth. In synchronization with that, the bell flashes or hammers or rings in about the same time sequence. So crossing gate signals are all like that. We've all seen them. And remember, they're to protect you, not to protect the train.
Go.
Okay, so this is Lou again, and I'm at the east signal at the Kansas City Northern Miniature Railroad. And this signal we put into service October of 2023. It's unique in several reasons, for several reasons. Number one, it's battery operated. Number two, the track circuit is a passive infrared sensor instead of being built into the railroad tracks like it would be normally done. As I mentioned previously, the lens difference from this signal and the one at the crossing is much larger. In that respect, it gives kind of an enhanced effect for this particular location. This was a challenging process for several reasons. Number one, the initial base we had was too large I liked it because it would contain the battery we're using, but having done all the work and tried to set the pole, we quickly realized that, hey, the base is the wrong size. So we had to redo that. The other thing is there were several problems in rebuilding it, in that the original light sequence flashers were a different design. We had to change that because, well, I dropped one and it's like pig iron and they just crack like it. They just break very, very easily. They're probably designed that way. Okay. The other thing that's unique about this is that we have a solar sensor, a 40-watt solar sensor, which is designed to keep the battery charged up whenever it's not in service. The LEDs, or the original 10-volt lights, railroad typically uses about 10-volt signal lights, and the reason for that is back in the 6-volt. So I mentioned batteries, but I failed to mention that all radio signals have a battery backup, and they're extensive battery banks in case of power failure. Back in the early days when the car voltage systems were 6 volts, the railroad chose to use a 10-volt battery so they wouldn't have people stealing their batteries primarily. And whenever they went to 12-volt car systems, they maintained 10 volts for the same reason in that respect. So the lamps in this original design, as all railroad cross signals back then, were 10 volts. These were changed to 12-volt LEDs, and all the electrical wiring and electronics were changed to 12 volts. We installed a 12-volt flasher, a relay to turn on the bell and the lights, and we installed a PIR 12-volt sensor to activate the signal itself. Okay, I want to explain the internal workings of this box. First of all, we looked far and wide to find a suitable container for the battery. There were marine box containers, there were all kinds. Some were very expensive, some just won't work. This container is a 50 caliber ammunition box. What's nice about it is it's certainly environmentally secure and it's lockable. And it fits the project very well. Inside here we have a plug for power, 12-volt battery, and we have the flasher and solar solar charger electronics. It's activated by heat, body heat. So as the train goes by, the body heat from the passengers and the engine activate the PIR sensor, and whenever it clears the track crossing, it turns off. How neat is that?
This is a crossing bell that we've had to completely rebuild, and now we're ready to test it. So we're going to apply power, and it's supposed to ring over and over again, which tells us that there's some adjustment that needs to be made, and we'll be doing that next.
Hello, this is Lou again at the Kansas City Northern Miniature Railroad, and today we're going to talk about the crossing gates and the Semaphore number 981. In a previous video, we talked about the importance of railroad signals, primarily the automotive side that protects the roads and the cars and the passengers, and the train side that protects the trains and the train traffic. It's important to realize that the reason for this is a train takes 18 football fields to stop on an average, and a car going 50 miles an hour, the same speed, would take 175 feet. So for that reason, in the train world, the signal red doesn't mean stop on that signal, it means stop on the next signal down the road that may be a couple miles. There's no way that you're going to be able to stop a train on the dime, or a car in that respect. So today, we're talking about these miniature train gauge crossing gates. These were obtained from the Kansas City Zoo at the same time that we obtained train number 31 miniature train. They were stored for about 10 years in a container. They were very well eaten up by mice. The wires are eaten up. The interiors were deteriorated. The motors were frozen. The micro switches were frozen. And I took on the task of rebuilding them last season. There was no documentation whatsoever. The E.O. Carpenter Company, Van Nuys, California, in 1959, was whenever these were built. It's been out of business for decades. I couldn't find anything on the company by contacting the Van Nuys City Council or their Historical Society. I tried to get information on the National Archives in Washington, D.C., but there is absolutely nothing. So, knowing that, I just took photographs, reassembled the entire units, and put them back together. So these two E.O. Carpenter crossing gates are functional in every respect. They're probably the only ones in existence, and certainly the only ones that are functional. So stand by for a second, and we'll give you an idea of how they work. It's important to know that originally this unit with the bell was a master unit, and it sent signals to a slave unit, and it controlled both gates. Whenever I rebuilt them, I made them both independent master units in case someone wanted to put one at a different location. Originally, they were 115 volts, even the lights. I converted the lights to LED. I put a flasher on the gate. The gates were a challenge just lengthwise because there was no documentation, and I had to do trial and error to get them to be balanced. I added twice the amount of balance weight, and so I have no idea what the original gates were. I would really like to know. So in that respect, basically, they're unique. We're probably the only ones in the whole of USA that even knows what they are history-wise, and we're very fortunate to bring them back to life. Hey, this is Lou again at the Kansas City Northern Miniature Railroad, and today we're going to talk about Semaphore 981. As you know, we operate 3 trains here, and they were all about the 1952-1955 vintage. We have the Semaphore that was put into service in 1927, so it's approaching 100 years old. It was originally obtained by one of our members, and he graciously donated it to the railroad, and he comes by every year and services that Semaphore. It was originally from the Atkinson, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad in Conley, Kansas, and it was maintained for 40 years by the same individual that put it into service until it was end of its useful life. We obtained it in 1989, and it was put into service here in 2012. In that respect, it's very, very, very unique to have something like this in any railroad that's fully functional. It operates every weekend, going up and down as the train goes by twice on its rotation, and it gets a real workout. As you can see on the green light, the Semaphore arm, well, it's red now because it's not powered, but on the green light, the semaphore is up, indicating what the railroad terminology is a high ball. Back in the days, whenever things were manual, the station master would raise the ball up on a pole to indicate the train, hey, it doesn't need to stop, you can go on through. In the summer, we have a canopy here shading it from the station agents, so we put this repeater signal. And as you will notice, the green light is on top, not on the bottom like regular traffic signals. The reason being is because the green light indicates a high ball. In that respect, it's a treat, and we're very, very fortunate to have it. Okay, here we are again at the north of Kansas City Miniature Railroad. My name is Lou, and we talked about several of the signals that we have here around our campus. This is what they call a wigwag. They were used they were used extensively, and still are a few in service in the country today. At crossing gates, crossing signals, road crossings primarily, well, strictly road crossings. This one made by the Magnetic Signal Company in Los Angeles, California, and we got it in 1922 as a donation by the Woods family that operated the Woodsbury TNT Western Miniature Railroad in Woods Valley, Missouri. So we were very, very fortunate in owning that we got it. The crossbucks and the sign are miniature railroad pieces that we had in storage, and we put those into service. Originally, whenever we obtained it, we had to rebuild it, including the light, which was changed to LED. The gearing blocks was cleaned, serviced, oiled, and repaired. And other than trying to keep the bugs out of it, wasps primarily, and this unit is unique. It's been operating trouble-free, flawlessly for the most part, since 2022.